Season 3 of Disney Speedstorm is coming to a close, and that means it's time to take a look at this past season, talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and ask ourselves whether or not Disney Speedstorm is ready to go free to play, because whether we like it or not, in about 5 days, Disney Speedstorm is going to go free to play on all consoles and PC. So let's talk about what they've done right, what they've done wrong, and what I think still needs to change before the game goes free to play. To start things off, let's talk about all the racers that were added to the game in Season 3 of Disney Speedstorm. We got 7 brand new racers, which is actually more than we got in both Season 1 and Season 2, and is going to be topped yet again in Season 4 when we get 8 brand new racers, which is pretty crazy to think about, but I'll talk about that more later. Let's focus on the ones added in this season for now. And as I'm sure most of us know, we got 5 seasonal Lilo and Stitch themed racers, those being, of course, Lilo, Stitch, Jumba, Captain Gontu, and Angel, and I would say with the exception of one of these racers, all of them are pretty excellently designed with their own distinct strengths, weaknesses, fun to use, and unique special abilities, and while some are weaker and some are stronger, I think they are all solid additions to the racing roster and just really good for the game in general. That is, of course, with the exception of Stitch. Stitch is a menace on the racetrack. If you've played the game this season, you know whenever he charges down his ability, he becomes like just a deviant and can stun everyone on the track so easily. It is not fun to play against. There's almost no counterplay to his ability, and you can get stunned multiple times in a row. Even if they're short stuns because of Stitch's low combat stat, it is still annoying and just not fun to fight against. I think Stitch definitely needs a rework or a heavy nerf of some kind, because in his current state, I just don't think he's healthy for the game. I think he just worsens the enjoyment of a match whenever he's in one. But with that being said, I do like all of the other racers that were added as a part of the Lilo and Stitch collection, and I think they did pretty good as long as they nerf or rework Stitch. As for Minnie and Daisy, the 2 mid-season racers, again, I have pretty much no notes. They're both pretty balanced racers, fun additions to the game. I really like Minnie's ability and playstyle in general. Daisy's is a little similar to Donald, which I don't love, but you know, it's fine. It's Daisy and Donald. If any 2 characters are going to have similar abilities, it just makes sense that it's these 2. And I am a little disappointed we got 4 Mickey and Friends racers for the past 2 seasons, the mid-season racers. However, it seems like they're departing from that trend, so I'm not gonna get on them too much for that. It's fine for these 2 seasons. You know, Mickey and Friends should be the largest collection in the game. It just makes sense, and I'm glad that we're hopefully through the phase of getting Mickey and Friends racers every season, because to be honest, I'm kind of sick and tired of collecting upgrade parts for that collection. So with the exception of Stitch, all the racers added to the game this season were good for the game and great additions. What about the track? Was the Kawaii Lilo and Stitch theme track added to the game this season good for the game? And obviously, yes, more tracks the merrier. I think it is a beautifully designed, vibrant track, and something we haven't seen from a track before that this one did, and can either be seen as a positive or negative. In my eyes, it's a positive, is that the Kawaii track changed the meta of Disney Speedstorm ever so slightly. That's because there are so many tight turns on this Kawaii track that racers like Sully and arguably Buzz Lightyear and anyone with basically really low handling is just not as good on this map because there are so many sharp turns. I think this is really good for the game. One, I'm kind of biased because I like characters that have super high handling stats, but 2, all of these super low handling, high top speed racers have an advantage on other tracks such as the factory, tracks with really wide turns and long hallways. They have an advantage on there, so I think it makes sense for some of the maps to give an advantage to these little quick dashing around brawlers like Donald Duck and things like that. I think it just makes sense, and I'm really happy with the addition of this track and the little shakeup that it gave to the meta. Now, a little bit more into the controversial stuff, some big changes we got in Season 3 were to the monetization system of the game. Starting off what are, in my opinion, the good changes to the system, you can now buy tokens with money. Every live service game has some kind of premium currency. It just makes sense that Disney Speedstorm does, and I think that this is a positive change. I don't really think there's any downsides to just being able to straight up buy tokens with money. I think it's more so what you can buy with them. Another positive change, you can buy the Golden Pass with tokens now. It is 999 tokens, which is incredible value, a little under $10. it's, the standard price for any live service free-to-play game, and I think it's definitely worth it. Definitely the first thing you should spend your tokens on. If you have enough, I definitely recommend doing that. Some mediocre changes we got: you can now buy season boxes with tokens, 500 tokens a pop. These are okay priced. If you really like the collection, I would consider spending some on it, but ultimately I think it is a little too expensive, and I'd lower the price down to like 400 or 300, make it a little bit more reasonable in my opinion. Another thing that is a mediocre change is the season coins for tokens. I would not buy any of these in my opinion. They started out really overpriced and were terrible value, then they sort of upped the value a little bit more in the middle of the season, but you can earn over 2 million season coins every single season just by playing the game actively. You don't have to spend any money to do that, and so I wouldn't recommend wasting any of your hard-earned or paid-for tokens on these season coins. Now, something that really needs to change regarding tokens and monetization in the game, in my opinion, is the prices of cosmetics. 2,000 tokens for a single racing suit is way too much, in my opinion. I think that the 700 tokens for the summer exclusive Mickey and Friends skins we got were a great sweet spot for price, and I think everything should be based around that. Maybe like 500 for cart parts and then like 300 or 200 for victory animation, but 700 tokens for a skin is very reasonable. 2,000 is not, in my opinion. Spending 2,000 tokens on a single racer suit when there's over 30 racers in the game is just ridiculous, in my opinion, and way too expensive, especially when you can earn multiplayer coins for free and get skins and cosmetics for free that way. And finally, the worst change regarding tokens and monetization, it's gotta be the unlock packs. I know that I've been asking for a character store forever, but these prices are just absurd in my opinion. The Mega Unlock Pack, where you could spend 5,000 tokens to get all 5 seasonal racers, I think that is reasonable value. But then there was also other unlock packs where you could be paying 3,000 tokens for either Figment or Steamboat Pete, just one of them for 3,000 tokens. That is ridiculous in my opinion. If you're not going to throw in any goodies and still charge 3,000 tokens, I just think that's way too expensive. Like I said in the past, I think it should be 1,000 for a common racer, which it is, and I think is really good price. 1,500 for a rare, I think that would be reasonable, and then 2,000 for an epic. I don't think it should be more than 2,000 for a single racer without any extra goodies thrown in. That's just my opinion, and I would really like it if Gameloft lowered those prices. So with all of these changes in mind, did Season 3 of Disney Speedstorm hit the mark? Is the game ready to go free to play? Well, the simple answer, I think it's yes, and I'm going to break it down into 2 parts and explain why. The first part is the core gameplay of Disney Speedstorm. This hasn't really changed throughout the 3 seasons. You race the same. Sure, there's new characters, there's new maps, there's kind of new modes in the season tour, I guess. Not really new modes. But the core gameplay, it's fun, it's refreshing, it's a great take on the racing genre. Racing feels super smooth, every character having their own ability feels nice. They changed the teleport skill, which was one of my biggest complaints about the core gameplay, and even though yes, some racers like Stitch and Mike Wazowski are really broken, like I'm not going to sugarcoat it, they're broken, they need nerfs, the game is still fun. The core gameplay is there, it is an enjoyable gameplay loop, and I think the game will be set up for success just because of how fun it is to drive around as your favorite Disney characters in some of your favorite Disney locations. I think that's going to have an immediate appeal and draw. In spite of all of this game's flaws, it will be okay because the core of the game is solid. Another reason why I think the game is ready for free to play is because the content cycle is really good in this game actually. Every 2 months we are getting 6 to 8 racers and a brand new track along with a new golden pass, a new season tour. So much content is added to the game on a seasonal basis with frequent updates in between, giving us mid-season racers and special limited events and all that good stuff. Sure, if you've been playing the game for 3 seasons straight, you might wish that there was another core game mode like a team mode or a tournament mode or something. You might be getting a little burnt out, but for any new player, this frequent content cycle is honestly really great. I mean, 8 racers every 2 months, that's like a racer every week basically, which is crazy to think about. It's actually it's so much content, guys, and I think the content cycle is really good in this game. If they add another core game mode like I suggested, a tournament mode or a team mode, it'll be perfect, but as it stands, it is really good and in my opinion suitable for a free-to-play launch. And finally, what is in my opinion still the weakest point of Disney Speedstorm after 3 seasons of changes, it is the progression system in the game. Let's start off by talking about the rates and how you obtain new racers in the game. Now, I will start by saying that the rate at which you obtain new racers is incredible. You can get pretty much every single new character that gets added to the game extremely easily as long as you're playing at the time of their release. All the seasonal characters are super obtainable through getting the Golden Pass, and all the season limited events and the season tour, they're all very easy to get as long as you just play actively that season. Same thing with the mid-season racers, they practically hand them out for free, which is super generous, super nice, and I really hope Disney Speedstorm keeps it that way, not making you work too hard or worse, pay for all the new racers that come to the game. I think the way the system is set up right now is pretty much perfect. What I do have an issue with is it is pretty much impossible without gambling to obtain all the past season racers. If I wanted Mike Wazowski, for example, and I started playing the game in season 4, I would have to simply open a ton of universal boxes and hope I get Mike Wazowski shards. I've talked about this issue many of times in the past, and it's only going to get harder as more racers are unlocked, which is why I want a character shop. Even if you have to spend 3,000 tokens per racer, which would suck, I would say just do it. You know, if it's your favorite Disney character, it might be worth it to some people, and we need ways to unlock these past racers more consistently rather than just gambling through universal boxes, because that universal box pool is only going to get larger and larger as seasons progress. What I do think Disney Speedstorm also needs is a way to obtain shards for any character you want. Maybe in Regulated, when we get those 3 shards every week, let us pick the racer they go to, even if we don't have them unlocked. That means after a month or so of grinding, you could unlock any character you want, which would be super nice and super helpful. It would make playing Regulated feel a lot more rewarding if you could slowly chip away at either starring up a racer you really enjoy or unlocking your favorite Disney character that you don't have yet. Or better yet, give us like a drop at the end of the Golden Pass where you can redeem one racer you want, maybe a way to buy like credits that redeem any free racer or something like that. I don't know, we just need a way to obtain past racers because it's going to be really hard for new players to complete the season tour if some races are locked behind. For example, having a Jungle Book character, they're going to be almost impossible to get. So give us a way to buy them, give us a way to grind for them, just give us a way rather than gambling and spending all of our coins on universal boxes. Please, Gameloft. And honestly, obtaining racers you don't have is my only real issue with the progression system in Disney Speedstorm right now. I think with the way season coins, how easy they are to obtain, and the way the daily shop offers works, it's really easy once you have a racer unlocked. If you're dedicated to that character, you can get them to like 3, 4, or even 5 stars after a couple weeks or seasons of grinding. Just save your season coins, spend them on the daily shop offers. It's a really rewarding system and super fun to progress the racers you like. And I also think the upgrade part system is fine too. You know, sure, it's a weekly rotation, which is kind of annoying, but after a while, you're gonna have more upgrade parts than you need anyways. And also, it doesn't make you feel as left out if you can't play for like a day or something. You know, you just gotta log in once a week and do your 3 races or whatever, and then you'll get all the upgrade parts that you need for that week, which is a nice system. What I will have an issue with, however, is if once you progress past level 40, there's a lot of rare upgrade parts that we don't have a way to obtain. As long as those aren't 100% locked behind a paywall, I will be fine. As long as there's a way to grind, even if it's really hard and there still is a way to pay, I'll be okay with that. Just make sure we can earn them without paying. If you can only max out racers past level 40 by spending money on this game, that would be really, really unfortunate, and I hope Gameloft does not do that. And that is my thoughts on Season 3 of Disney Speedstorm and whether or not the game is ready to go free to play. I really do think that in spite of some of its flaws, it is. The core gameplay is there, like I said, and I truly believe that is the most important part of any game. But let me know, do you agree, do you disagree? I'm really curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this, so let me know in the comments below. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.